More experience should make you more valuable. So why does it feel like it's working against you? Hiring managers keep telling you that you're not the right fit, and you start to wonder if it's your age. But you're not being rejected because of your experience. You're being rejected because of what your experience represents to the hiring managers. And unless you shift that perception, you'll keep hearing the same polite no. I'm Mizes, a former HR leader at Meta, and now I coach thousands of mid to late career professionals. I've helped people in their 40s and 50s land dream roles by helping them repackage their experience. And today, I'm gonna show you how to do exactly that. But if you already know that your experience is a secret weapon that most hiring managers overlook, tell me what moment in your career proved that. Bonus points if it was a time that somebody underestimated you and you made them regret it. You see, your experience is your competitive edge. Every year that you worked has taught you lessons that most younger candidates haven't even encountered yet. You know how to navigate crises, how to lead under pressure, how to read between the lines in business politics, and recover from the kind of setbacks that would send others spinning. Over the years, you've managed teams through transitions. You've seen what actually moves the needle and what wastes time. You've had tough conversations, you've made strategic decisions, and you've lived the consequences. That kind of depth isn't something that you can train in 6 months or simulate in a case study. It's earned and it's rare. So the goal isn't to hide your experience, it's to weaponize it. But first, here's what nobody tells you about experience. Hiring managers are caring less and less about it. And it's not because experience isn't valuable. Most candidates simply fail to frame that experience in terms of speed, impact, or transformation. And in a market obsessed with agility, perceived slowness kills offers. The longer that your resume gets, the more invisible that you can become, because most experienced candidates lead with chronology. It reads like a memoir. On your resume, you probably have 10 bullet points from 10 years ago. You've listed tools that nobody uses today, and there are achievements with no context or titles with no outcomes. The hiring manager then quietly thinks, all right, so what? And they're not rejecting your age, they're rejecting irrelevance. Companies don't hire you because you've seen it all. They hire you because you can fix what they're struggling with right now. You need to understand that you're not applying to be honored, you're applying to solve. And that's why you need to repackage your experience as a solution to today's problems. Decision makers are under pressure. They're judged on revenue, risk, and retention. And your resume should read like you understand their scorecard. Every line should say, I've done this before and I can do it again for you. Instead of listing every role that you've had, highlight the transformation that you've driven. So don't say manage 10 people, say increase customer retention by 32% by restructuring the service team. This is the shift. Start thinking like a strategic problem solver. So here's your step-by-step action plan. Step 1 is to rewrite your resume with a transformation lens. For every role, I want you to answer, what was the problem? What did you do? And what was the result? Strip out the fluff. Cut anything pre-2010 unless it directly applies to the job. Step 2 is to learn the language of the business. So if you're applying for a growth role, speak growth, cost savings, acquisition, lifetime value. If it's a compliance role, talk risk reduction, audit pass rates, governance wins. Step 3 is to lead with outcomes. So start every bullet point with a result, not a task. So not led a team of 12, but reduce churn by 18% through culture overhaul. The next step is to show agility. Today's market doesn't reward generalists. It rewards people who can move. So you want to mention cross-functional projects, system upgrades, role pivots. Your versatility is a value multiplier, so make it obvious. And the last step is to preview your impact. So in interviews, you could say things like, here's how I'd approach solving that for you. Don't wait to be told what the job is. Show them that you've already started thinking about it. And once you start positioning yourself as the person who solves what matters right now, you stand out. But even that won't be enough if they still think that you're stuck in your ways. There's a gigantic fear that companies have with seasoned professionals. It's the idea that you're married to the past. And so hiring managers think that you're gonna resist the current and try to lead with how things used to be instead of where things are going. And this fear usually doesn't show up in what you say, it shows up in how you say it. So when you default to legacy systems, or you name drop old tools, or you use war stories from decades ago, you build a picture of someone who's seasoned but static. Even when your intentions are to provide context, it often signals inflexibility and inadaptability. And this is a red flag for hiring managers. In a nutshell, when you say, back when I was at, hiring managers here, I'm gonna slow you down. That's why you need to show that your experience accelerates change. And this is where your edge becomes your differentiator. So frame your experience as proof that you can evolve faster than somebody without experience. Talk about the pivots that you've been through, not just the tenures that you've had. Did your company implement new software? Describe how you learned it fast and then taught others. Did you shift industries? And then maybe you highlight what frameworks you carried over and how quickly you adjusted. Here's what I want you to do. Audit your career for adaptability moments. So go through your last 10 to 15 years and pinpoint every time that you've had to learn a new system or tool quickly, navigate a major organizational shift or market disruption, step into a new industry or a business model or a leadership style, lead or contribute to change initiatives, especially for tech or process updates. And then list these in a change resume, separate from your actual resume, because you're gonna use it to build narratives. Okay, next, I want you to reframe your wins as adaptability stories. So pick 3 to 5 examples and then write them out using this framework. Context: what was changing or broken? Action: what did you do to adapt, lead, or simplify it? Impact: how fast did you move? What measurable outcomes did you produce? This proves that you were the force behind the momentum. And then I want you to quantify your learning speed. So document how quickly you've mastered new systems or practices. And you could use language like built fluency in X type of system in Y weeks. Upskilled entire team in tech or process within 30 days. Learned tool independently and trained 15 plus others. This shows that you're not just open to change, but you accelerate it. And then while preparing for interviews, practice forward-facing interview questions. So you could personalize questions like, what's one process that slowed down the team lately? Where does change meet the most resistance here? How does your team typically onboard new systems or people? These signal that you're already troubleshooting. And lastly, update your resume and LinkedIn accordingly. So use phrasing that reflects range, agility, and relevance. So for example, you could add statements like scaled systems across legacy and startup environments, delivered value in waterfall and agile frameworks, enabled cross-functional adaptation of change in timeframe. The goal is to position every piece of your history as proof that you don't resist change. You need to show how often you've evolved, and that evolution is proof that you'll thrive in their chaos. But even flexibility won't matter if you don't act like a strategic insider. And if any part of this has you thinking, wait, that's exactly what happened in my last interview, then tap subscribe, because I break down how professionals can turn interviews into offers all the time. Here's what most overqualified candidates get wrong. They stay in ghost mode. They walk into the interview thinking that they're being evaluated, and so they shrink themselves down. And they say, I'd love to support your vision, instead of, here's what I drive fast. They try to earn approval instead of offering insight, and they end up being polite and forgettable. You can't afford to be polite. You have to be valuable, because great companies are looking for people who act like owners, and they want candidates who talk like they are already inside the role. Therefore, you want to shift your position from candidate to collaborator. Before the interview, you need to flip your mindset. So instead of asking, how do I get them to like me? You should be asking yourself, how can I help solve their pain? This shifts your posture from guest to insider. And when you write down what you suspect their 3 biggest problems are, based on that research, so press releases, Glassdoors, and job descriptions, you're gonna prepare 3 insight-based interview questions. Come up with smart diagnostic questions, and this could be something like, what's a recurring internal problem that never gets solved? Where's the disconnect between strategy and execution right now? What's the one thing that your competitors are doing that you wish that your team was? Use these to reframe the interview as a strategy session. And don't forget to rehearse ownership language, so practice speaking in first person and forward-facing terms. So things like, here's where I'd create impact first. Here's a pattern that I've seen before and how we fixed it. If I were already on the team, I'd start by, I want you to avoid differential language, so instead try to speak like a peer. And if I were you, I would be coming to the table with a short plan or an insight doc that outlines an observation about their business, a hypothesis for what's not working, and a few tactical tips that you'd explore in the first 30 to 60 days. You don't have to be right. You just have to think like somebody already on the inside. And after the interview is complete, you're gonna wrap it up with vision. So instead of closing it up with, thanks for the opportunity, you're gonna say something like, here's what I'd love to dive into more if I were to come on board. Or you could say, assuming that we're a fit, I'm already thinking about X project and how I'd approach it. This creates psychological proximity, and hiring managers start picturing you in the seat. If you're tired of watching less qualified candidates leapfrog you while your inbox stays empty, you need more than a new resume. You need a brand new career strategy. That's exactly what I build with my clients at my company, The Human Reach. And I've helped over 8,000 professionals land offers, lead teams, and break through plateaus using a career coaching system that I've developed for hiring at the biggest companies in the world. So if you're ready to lead again and get paid what you're worth, book a free strategy call by tapping the link on your screen or in the description box below. We'll see you on the other side.